Yeah.
Okay, Hilchos Gerushin, yeah? Perek Yud Gimel. Halacha Aleph. Isha she'amar l'baylo. What page are we on?
Uh,
1420, 425. Yeah, thank you. Isha she'amar l'baylo, a woman that says to her husband, Gershtani b'fei plenty you divorced me before these two people. And she names them. And those two Eidim show up and they say no. They contradict the test what she says. Then afterwards, she and her husband leave town for some time. Shalom and there's no wars happening in the world. She comes back and she says alone. She comes back alone. She says, "My husband died." And in a minute, she's not believed. Although yesterday we learned a woman's believed to say, "My husband passed away, so we should be able to remarried." Presumably, she's not going to say such a lie that her husband died when he's really alive, and he'll show up and contradict her, and she'll have to leave her second husband or kids. Over here, she's already been established as a liar, so we know she's not trustworthy. That's why she's not believed in this case. She's looking for ways to escape from being with her husband. Now, boy,
she has to bring proof that he died.
of course, if you bring this proof, you bring this proof. But over here, we're saying that the principle we said yesterday that a woman's believes on her own word.
You're a liar one time, you're a liar the second.
Right,
time.
Exactly. So therefore, if one age shows up and says her husband Taka passed away after she says so, still it's not she's not believed. Maybe she hired him because again we see she's a person who is not trustworthy.
Diabolical.
But however, but the aid though, on the other one hand, there's a witness. So why should we suspect him? We suspect him because he's coming to testify for her. Therefore, if she gets married. She doesn't have to leave her second husband. She has a witness. On the one hand, we have a reason to believe the witness. He's a witness. On the other hand, he's coming to testify on a person who's looks like a liar. Therefore, she should not get married. But if she does, we don't force her to leave her husband.
The witness to be a liar.
Obviously, then it's right. That's a whole other story. Yeah. Okay. Base. Similarly, if she's not a person who has a history of lying, regular woman, but there was a war happening in the world. It's time of, let's say, World War II. She comes to town, she says, my husband died in the war. In a minute, she's not believed. Even though they were on good terms. Because when she comes and says, my husband died in the war, in other words, in the battle, she's saying he died in the battle. So we're worried that she's convincing herself that Hitaka died based on things which normally lead to death. For example, the people in the front lines and the back lines were all killed. And the husband was in the middle. And she's saying based on that, she's saying presumably he died. Now she's not saying the best presumably. She wants to get remarried. She's saying
right,
but she's convincing herself of something which is not legitimate. No, we're suspicious.
Why?
That's what she's doing.
She doesn't have a record of being a liar.
Yeah, but because she's saying my husband died in a context where it's possible that
he could have died,
that he could have survived, and that she's saying that based on a presumption. So here she's saying based on the fact that both people on both sides died. Presumably he died among them. She didn't say she's not saying therefore she's not believed. Even she says even if he maced, even if he died in the war and I buried him, again we're suspicious that she's telling herself, she's convincing herself in not legitimately that he for sure died, but he didn't.
What can we just say more simply? That witness.
No, because when a woman because when a woman says my husband died, she's believed. We said yesterday, she's believed. When she comes and says my husband died, she's believed. Like look, if she says he died on his deathbed, not in the war. So we have no reason to think that she's saying he probably died because of this. I'll just say he died. No, he died on his deathbed. What's the probably? Hitaka died. Therefore, in a minute, she's believed. When she's saying he died in the context, we don't have to be worried that she's saying he died based on a presumption. We believe her. Over here, there's no presumption. Over here, the fact that he died is assumed if he's on his deathbed. Gimel. Yes, so just to recap very briefly, a woman, we said yesterday, who says my husband died is believed. However, if she's already suspicious of someone who's lying, like in the first halacha where she says he divorced me and two Eidim come and say it's not true and she's proven a liar, she's no longer believed. Similarly, if there's a reason to think that she's saying my husband died based on a presumption, she's not telling us that. She's telling us he died for sure, but we're worried that she's assuming so. For example, he died in the war, on the battlefield. Maybe she means he probably died because everyone around him I saw get killed. Therefore, we can't accept that. Gimel. There's no war in the world. She says, there was a war in this place you don't know about. He died in that war. Then again, she should not get remarried for the same reason. Or if she does get married, she doesn't have to leave. Why? Because the whole reason why we know there was a war is because she told us. So she has a migu that she could have just came and said, my husband died. Kind of, exactly. Very similar to a migu. Yeah, same idea. So essentially over here, essentially the same point is that she volunteered information, which doesn't help her. So we let the time that my husband died stand if she already got remarried. Doubt. Who says, my husband died in an avalanche. In a nation, I believe. For the same reason, she's assuming he died because all the boulders fell, he can't survive, but it's possible he's alive. And we have to be worried that she's saying something as a fact, which is really not a fact. And she's convincing herself it's a fact. If there was a plague of snakes and scorpions, she says, a snake was bit him and he died. She not believe. She's assuming that all the people around him died because they got bitten, so he probably died as well. But who says he died? Not everyone dies from snake bites. Only most people. Some people survive sometimes. I'm not sure if she's saying over I saw him get bitten. It could be even if she says I saw him get bitten, she's not believing, because maybe she saw him get bitten and then got sick and then she left. So it could be even then she's not believing. She should not believe if she doesn't say that she just says he died in the plague of snakes and scorpions without giving specifics. Okay. She's saying. Oh, I see. He was bit by a snake. Interesting. She's saying he was bit by a snake. The we would ask her, you saw? I mean, if she's going to say no, so we asked that. I mean, how he was bitten. Chaim Yankel told me.
Let's say she said she saw.
It's
different. It's different, right?
No, she says that she saw him get bitten. She didn't see him die though.
She saw him get bitten and she saw him die.
No,
then it's okay.
Then
because we think just she's assuming that he was from the middle guys, from the front line and the back line. So she's assuming that he was in the middle line, so he was also died. But when she's not just assuming, she says, I saw that he died. Oh, and that's
I think Vort is again, we're chayish that she's saying that as if she's articulating as a fact, which in her head, she's thinking it must be he died because so many people got bitten. He got bitten as well. Most of them died. Must be this time he died as well.
Correct.
So therefore, she's not believed.
She said she saw.
No, good. So she said she. But Melchama also could be. She said she saw.
No, don't say that. He says a whole drasha. He says that he saw soldiers in the front. He saw soldiers in the back. And her husband was in the middle, so she's assuming that he was also killed.
No, if she doesn't say she saw, then we can't Bechlal entertain the whole idea of her being believed. Because why would Bechlal we think that she the whole Vashash to explain what even because even though she's saying I saw him die, but since she's saying it happened in the context which we know to exist before her telling us such as a war, it's possible that she's saying I saw him die, but she means it as a fact, but really she's not certain about it. She's convincing herself. That's the whole problem. That's the problem.
She's giving details to his death, and through those details, she's convincing herself that this is
basically.
Basically, why she says that he died on his bed is different.
Oh,
there's no details there.
Because over there, it's not a context where she had. But maybe she. So what? I mean, what's exactly? Maybe she left on his death, but he's still sick, and she's just convinced. That's not chayish for that. Okay, so.
And one, she's weaving a story, and the other one, there's no story. So I'm suspicious of the story that she's weaving.
Hey, Amr, she says, I've seen her.
The front line's terrible, back line.
Yeah, Amr, she says, Ishnu Aleinu bias, they smoked us out of it. That's a little different, but that's different. Over there also, yeah.
Over there, there's. And he said, my husband and I went into a concentration camp.
So
I assume he's dead. I survived the concentration camp. We believe her.
So
1
second. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that case where Amr, she says, Ishnu. Oh, this halacha here. Amr, she says, Ishnu Aleinu biasim. Or they smoked us out of a house or a cave. Who makes he died? I would say if anyone should not believe that say he died. Again, we're assuming that maybe he didn't die, but maybe a miracle happened to him, and she's like, no way, he's alive. I survived by miracle. He's for sure dead. And she's saying he died on an assumption. If she says it was a year of a famine. No, Raven is a famine, not an epidemic. We'll see that. No, we'll see soon about Dever. And she says, "May my husband died," and the mention not believed because again, we assume that she's assuming. We're afraid she might be assuming rather than being certain.
Yeah, take a look then.
Meisur Karativ. If so, over here, Meisur Karativ died, and I buried him. Then by a hunger, she is believed.
That confirms what you're saying, because once there's more clear things that she's verbalizing, then it's no longer a theory that she's putting herself into.
Right.
She says he died and I buried him.
Right. So mainly in a famine, we're not worried that she's exaggerating a likelihood. When it comes to Muhammad, even if she said I buried him, we still choshish that she's trying.
I didn't know that.
Because of notes of the Farshim, because over there by a hunger, it's more of a situation where it's yeah, no, so maybe I'm wrong. Okay,
maybe this applies to all of them.
Yeah. No, because in Bacham we said in the halacha beis va'afilu amar meis b'Bacham v'karavtiv. Even then, she's not believed. Right, but Muhammad, because again, when we have extra reasons to believe or to be choshesh that she's exaggerating a likelihood in her head because it's so sure, because she sees everyone getting killed.
But the fact that the Rambam bring it by
right,
or by Megefa or by.
But is she saying that my husband was a soldier in the war? Is a victim of war?
She's saying he was in the battlefield. That's what he's saying.
He was a soldier fighting.
Whether he was a soldier, he was back then. The whole such thing as civilians. If you were in the country, you were a soldier. No such thing as I'm not playing. Time out. That's a Geneva Convention, Michigas, right?
But there was no deferment.
Right.
No draft deferment.
So by a hunger, it's not like she's going to say, well, some people died of hunger, but it's not he died as well. It depends if you have food or not. Yeah, it's not like because it's hitting all these people hits you as well. Not you, the person as well. So it's a little different. Therefore, she says, I buried him. She believed. But she says, if a gang of goyim or robbers fell upon us, who now he was killed, but I didn't tell that I was saved. The man she's believed. She ain't dark in the hagas nashim. Mission Neymar. Kishem shenitzla. By you it says Kishem shenitzla what? Kishem shenitzla. Okay.
You can't make that same argument.
Right, because by the goyim, there's two reasons. Rashi takes give two reasons. Either they want to keep the women around to do affairs with them, or it's not the code of honor of the murderers. They know no women, no kids. So all right, Zion. If there was a pestilence, an epidemic in the world, and she said my husband died, she's believed. Yeah. She dover pashut befi kol adam, because it's a simple thing by people. When it comes to a pestilence, you have people living and people dying, and there's no rules. Maybe by an epidemic like Black Death that was in Europe, you have young, healthy people dying. And older, sick people are saved. Therefore, we're not going to say she's going to say so. If people died, he must have died as well. Okay, we're not she's lying. Well, she says, listen, I'm not lying to Bess. I'm telling the truth. I'm sure he died. He must have died. He can't be alive. But she's not trying to be a bad person. She's just trying. She really believes he must have died because like Muhammad, everyone died. He must. He got saved? But over here, she's not going to do that. She's not going to think to herself, he for sure died. People died. Who says? There's no rules when it comes to an epidemic like the Black Death. COVID, you see, I mean, people who are younger and healthy are more likely to there is a, but whatever. The Quran is the same. Okay, Kfar Amarnu, we said. When it comes to witness testifying to another witness, is kosher. When it comes to saying Edus, a woman, husband dies, should not be a guna. When this is applied, should make plain. When the aid hears from somebody else who's an intelligent adult, even like a slave or a maidservant, but they're people who have intelligence. The status of social hierarchy is very low. If they hear it from a shaita or a child, the person talk about a child who's very, very smart, like a 12-year-old kid who's 12 and a half, who's very bright, valedictorian is 6th grade class, could be a good but a very young, immature child for sure not. They can't testify. You cannot rely on them. Test.
Well, no, that's the aid hearing it from them. What if they themselves are testifying? Didn't we learn that yesterday? That there's a goy must have and not just a goy, it's also
no, fine. So if
it's a direct aid of this shaitan cotton.
Oh, I think even then.
So what does it have to come on to aid and pay? Let us say even
because that's the chayra.
Let us say stronger that if shaitan cotton or shifta.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a good question. Could be it's laser after. I'm not sure. Okay. Akapan yud at yud. Shama Sorry, thank you. Test. Shama you hear children, Taka, who are usually not believed, but you hear them saying, Aksha Banu came now from this eulogy. And this is the people who are giving the eulogy. This Rosh Hashiva, that Rosh Hashiva, plenty Achacham, this, yeah. Plenty all the Acham. It does say this, a person followed the coffin. So it does this. What they did, it's made in Pihen al Piadvarm. Look, it's in this way, this very specific type of description we could use as to Edus that the woman, his husband died. They're going to see this usually let his wife get remarried. This is a much more specific. That's what I'm saying. Like he died. They're giving a very, very detailed description. Yeah. So again, Tanekis means that they're able to. There's some. You see, there's something to what they're saying. Yud. And doesn't have to shape it. Right. In Hanam, because the shait attack is a whole different gather. Yeah. No, I don't know if a shait is shaykh to say shait. Yeah. Okay. Right. The shait. Yeah. In Hanami, Bechlal, cotton is one step up of a shait in terms of Yud. You saw showing a Yid says Harakti is plain. I killed this guy. Hey, is the Nasa Alpi if his wife can get remarried? He's not believed to say he killed someone, and Bezin won't put him to death, which is a principle in law called can't incriminate yourself, right? Whatever that's called in legal terms. A person he's not believed to make himself a rush and say he killed him, but he's saying the guy's dead. Whatever the method and the means of how he died, that part we believe. Kamana, we already said a guy who just is talking randomly. We said this yesterday, yeah? I seen Alpiv, his wife can get remarried based on that. Case of example. The guy is talking and saying, right, he's by the bar, drinking beer, and he's telling Oila playing the mace, such a shame this guy died. Kamal here, no, he's such a nice guy, but he did these nice things for me. For example, the guy was saying, when I was traveling, this guy was traveling with us, collapsed and died. I was very surprised. How he died so suddenly. These type of things, it's clear he's not trying to say something which I need people to believe me. He's not saying a Maisa. In that case, we were semach on that. Now, we would afterwards, we'll see soon, you would afterwards ask him, tell me more. This guy, ask, get more descriptive. And then maybe he realizes you want information. But once he says it the first time as a statement, as randomly, that even afterwards he says it in a way that he's trying to testify, it still stands. Your base.
You know how they found the murderer from Elias Golden?
No.
Undercover cop went to a bar in St. John somewhere. And he was sitting there amongst this, and one spot was posting to
really.
That I just killed the dude.
Really, Hashem Gedami.
Was a youngster. Huh? That's what was a young boy.
It was
correct.
Yeah. He was a buck, the kid, right?
He was in a bar.
The shaykhs, the tzayach, was in a bar. Afterwards,
He was a teenager.
yeah.
He was a teenager in a bar. Yeah.
He killed a guy. He has no problem walking into a bar.
This is the Sal, this neighborhood. I'm not a Yid hears a guy, Sam saying, excuse me, yeah. So the Yid hears the guy in the bar, let's say, saying this guy's, and again, it has to be specific, right? But the name, something that he can testify to Bez that he heard from this guy, but tell some people Bez not get married. Medvar morning when this is applied, there was no amasla. Amasla means emesloi, a reason to suspect. If there was talk when the guy was, it was something about the way he was saying it. Maybe when he says it, he doesn't really mean it. He tells somebody, do this for me, give me a free drink. He tells the bartender, I don't kill you the way I killed this person by this name, this Jew. That's not called a sichuf tumei in terms of agunus. He's saying it. The guy should be afraid of him. So maybe he's just a hakashainik. Good gimel. If you hear the Goyish court saying, we executed this person, aim the money not believe. The courts want to establish themselves as cruel. It's tough to impose, intimidate people. The same thing applies in all these cases. We have to make sure the guy is saying it's tamazay without any ulterior motive to lie. Now, here's the thing. What if the court gives a notice, this guy was killed, but that they did it? Then the person can talk about when and where this applies. Apparently, it also depends. The modern day place can talk about different types of governments. The Syrian government and the Canadian government is not the same thing. You know what I mean? Yadal Akum. or guy, yeah. So by you it says guy. Guy this is what I said earlier. A guy who first says it randomly in a way that we believe him. Even though afterwards you ask him more questions. But until we investigate until he specifies all the details. How is it still believed? She can get married based on that because again, the first time he said it was just to talk. He didn't know we're going to investigate it, so therefore he still believes. Tezvav. Kvar Hadan we already said. So now again we're going into all the different types of our goodness and situations where where it's not clear if the guy died or not. Kvar Hadan we already said. When a witness says, "I heard that so and so died," I feel. The guys in the bar saying, "Yeah, this guy passed away. It's so shame. We were in the car, and he got the whatever it is, and he's dead." We start asking him, "Oh yeah, this guy from this address is this person? So tell me again, what time was it, and where did it happen?" So even though now he realizes you actually are being very, very concerned with the information, the fact that the first time he said it just doesn't make it less loud. Take away the pneumonas.
It doesn't negate the fact that you investigated it. But
okay, the fact you investigated doesn't negate the fact that he said it the first time.
Why should it?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever. Okay, maybe you would think that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're saying it's pashut. Okay, I don't know. Fine. Test about. Kvar Hadan we already said. The aid says, "I heard so and so passed away. I feel a woman heard it from a slave. It's a kosher. It's kosher to testify for the woman. Masin al she get married based on that. However, if the slave or the woman or the aid says, "This person died, and I saw that he died." So surely we have to ask some questions. What he heard, I heard from this guy. We can't ask him any question. He doesn't know anything. All he did was he heard that so-and-so said that so-and-so passed away. That's enough. But when we have the opportunity to cross-examine, because he says, I was there when it happened, so we have to do our part to make sure he's asking him all the questions. How did you see, and how do you know he died? If he testifies something which is clear, then when he's believed, if he testifies to something which is ruban lamisa, meaning he says that we'll see next halacha an example. He says something happened to him, and therefore probably he died. That's not good. Why can't get you married? We cannot testify. We cannot testify for a person that he passed away, except the edus, unless the person saw something which means he died. Shouldn't that a suffix? That's when he's saying he saw it himself. So if I heard from this person, he said he for sure died. I didn't ask him any questions. Fine, that's good enough. Maybe you should have, but you didn't. Over here, when he's telling Bezin, I saw this happen. We have to ask him. Yeah.
Worse.
Yeah.
Than
Right. Because when we have the opportunity, we have to take it.
Hearsay is better than being specific.
Because presumably,
hearsay is
right. Because when he says this person says he passed away, we're not obligated to be choishish that when Reuven heard Shimon say that this guy passed away, Shimon, the Eved, Shimon the Eved in this case, he means that he saw him. Whatever, we'll see in what examples. He means he saw him dead. If Taki says, I heard from Shimon that he fell into the ocean, who says he died though? Right. So we'll see. Okay. Test Zayin. Case of example. The guy says the aide says. This is by all this would apply, by the way, even if it was two aides. The aide says that he fell into the ocean. I feel tough Yamagodl. If it was it wasn't Sama Lake, it was the Yamagodl. You can't use it as aid that he died. Maybe he came out alive elsewhere. Happens sometimes people get washed up on shore. Yeah. If he fell into a very collected body of water, you're going bar like a pit or a well or a swimming pool. Yeah. You could see all the perimeters at one time. So it's not possible he came out because you would see the shark, or even like a lake. If the lake is not so big, you can't see the other perimeters. I mean, and again, they'll have to stay there the amount of time it takes that he for sure, if he would die if he did not come out of the water. And the Pasuk say it's anywhere between 3 hours or even or less. But there's different opinions. That's the most machmir opinion is 3 hours. Because not that it happens sometimes. People the other way, whatever. I'm not sure exactly how to explain. There are times people on the water for a long time, and eventually they're revived. It's not that you can be on the water exactly, but I guess the whatever state the body goes into. I'm not that I know. I'm not sure. But so they testify that he died. I think the vart is his wife get married because again it's for sure he died. So I think the vart is that sometimes again, but I think that's the times when the person can't breathe in the water. So yeah, there are times the body could shut down, preserve its energy, and then or even if there's like a temporary unconsciousness, ultimately the person get revived somehow if the CP different ways. But okay, And similarly, if he was cast into the ocean on purpose, and afterwards they put a net to bring him back, and they brought up a limb of his. It's not possible that person could have that taken away and not live. So it means that something bit him obviously, and now he pick up his heart, for example, or both his kidney, or not kidneys. That Rambam is not treifa, but liver, let's say, or things like that. So he's a meeting of Shemesh. You can testify he died. And I see the shishis who have to get remarried because we know for sure that he has died. Now, how do we know it's his? So the Farshim say that either the case is that that they put him into the water with this net, the same net. They picked it back up. It came with like a piece of his torso. So then the Pashas, we can assume he's for sure died. He's for sure dead. Yud Zayin. And if the aide says I saw him fall into a lion's den or a leopard's den, they didn't see him die though. Maybe you can't testify he died. Maybe they didn't eat him. You still look on the internet. You still find videos of people who go into a lion's cage and they survive. It happens. Maybe they're not hungry, right? He falls into a pit of snakes and scorpions, or into a pit of fire, which is very deep and very wide, and you can't go out. Or to a boiling vat of wine or oil, or with pots of water as well. Or he was shechted in the majority of his windpipe and food pipe. I feel it, even if you saw him get up and stand up and walk away from after being shechted. You can testify that he died. He's for sure going to die eventually. Now, how long does his wife have to wait to get remarried? Maybe he's not dead today. Wait till tomorrow. So that's a good possible talk about that, whether it's a day, a week, a month, a year. But a treifa can't survive more than 12 months. So when it comes to Nachash Makarovim, it's not possible he can't get bitten by these poisonous things because you can't not agitate them. Not lions. It's possible that you kind of don't bother them, don't bother you. It could happen. It happens sometimes. Similar types of things where it's considered impossible to live. He will certainly die shortly. In the middle of, they could testify about him that he died. You see that he's tzoluv, which is either means hanged, I say hanged, right? Or crucified. And he's being eaten by a bird, let's say a vulture, yeah? Even though he's been stabbed with a sword or there's arrows in him, not in the place in his body to make him a treifa, but other parts of his body. You can't testify that he died. And because again, it's possible that he's not dead yet, and that he will survive. So that's not considered he's dead. He's probably going to die, but unless you see him die, you can't say he died. If you see the bird eating a part of the body, that if you take it out, the person will die. Like for example, his heart. Oh, exactly. A vital organ, his brain or liver, his heart, his intestines. He's a made of shemesh. Then you could testify that he died. You test. One witness says, I saw him die in a war, in an avalanche. I saw that he died. He drowned in the ocean, right? And he means he stood there, and they were watching around. They see that he could not.
No, he actually says the word "bames." He's testifying that he died.
But how did he know for sure he died?
No, before the Rambam was saying, just said that it was in the Yam Gadol, so we don't know. But now he's saying "bames."
Yeah. So he fell to the ocean, and he drowned, and he's dead. How do you know? You went down and you took a pulse. He said I stood there and I was there for 3 hours and he didn't come back up.
No. He said he saw the dead body come up, whatever.
So that would be much more.
He's saying the words "bames" as opposed to before. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Okay, so he says in the first to say that.
Oh, you're right because he says by to kid.
Oh, so 1 second. So let's see. All these things are Rubel Lamisa. If he says I buried him, but Neman is Neman, because here you have Saya a reasonable story that he died, and Saya saying I buried him. So it's not like an assumption. The wife herself, we said it's not so simple, right? But the aide, he's believed. She should get remarried. If he doesn't say I buried him, let's not say that she's not get remarried, because if she gets remarried, she doesn't have to leave. Again, we have these two things over here. On the one hand, we have the chayra. It's similar that it's almost guaranteed that he's going to die soon. On the other hand, it's possible the person's thinking he died, but he's actually alive. So therefore, she shouldn't get remarried to Chila. If she gets remarried by the Ebed, she doesn't have to leave. So we leave things as they are until we can clarify it further. Chaf. A woman who one aid or even probably two aidim would apply the same thing. Their husband drowned in the ocean. Or water which has no end, like an ocean. And he didn't come back up. And he's been since forgotten. No one has ever seen him. He's let us know based on that witness testimony. She should not get remarried, as we said, because we don't know for sure. People sometimes come up somewhere else on the shore. In this, if she gets remarried, she doesn't have to leave. This means she got remarried because
against the better advice of the Chacham.
No, if I can't. If she gets married without permission from a Rav or Bezdin, she has to leave. Over here, she got remarried because someone was matir her, perhaps incorrectly. But because she did it, so then even if it's a guy who's just saying he drowned, so say it's a guy, the side situation we didn't say for sure he died. This I believe she got remarried. Then she's not allowed to go out. She's not allowed. So she doesn't have to get divorced because she got married based on reshus from a chacham. The chacham should hear that. However, if a chacham gives her, whichever chacham tells you to get remarried, not to say he's putting the chayim because you're not supposed to give this type of permission. But it's not her fault. She got remarried. She can stay married. So you find the guy killed or dead. So now, how do you recognize a person? If his forehead, his nose, the parts of panav, his basic facial features are extant, right? So he died recently, so his body didn't decay yet. People recognize him as so and so. They could testify. But one of these things are not there. Let's, for example, his face got blown off by a grenade, right? So then in that case, there's simana on his body, right? For example, he has let's say or his clothing, right? He has this jacket with this logo. Everyone knows he wears a filusum or even a mole, which is a more specific type of siman. They can't testify that he died for sure. Maybe it's somebody else. So just briefly, the place can here discuss. There's like three kind of simanim. There's like what's called a siman garua, which is like a very inferior siman. There's a siman muvhak, which is like a good siman that you could use for for example, they have DNA. That's a DNA l'chor is a siman muvhak, right? So sorry. You have dental records, right? Or you have what's called then you have it's called siman muvhak b'yosef, a very very specific siman, right? If he has this kind of tattoo on an extra sixth finger, it's a very specific siman. So different types of simanim. So and what's considered a good siman, not good siman, it's the whole situation. So, but basically, a regular just a body identification, like a mole on this part of the body, is not that's not good enough. When does it apply that it's good enough if they recognize his face? If they see him within 3 days of his being killed or death. After 72 hours, they cannot testify they recognize him because a person's face changes after 3 days. There's no work back then, no refrigeration. Therefore, it has to be chayshish. Maybe the record he does. Who says you can recognize it? Who says he's this person? Maybe somebody else. Chav base. If he drowned in the ocean, he sank into the ocean. Sorry, and then he washed up on the shore. Even after many days, if they recognize his face and his nose, they can testify about him, even though it's much after 3 days. Because in the water, the body is preserved much better. However, once it's washed up on the shore, it changes very quickly. If it washed up on the shore and after 12 hours it started to bloat, which happens based on the atmospheric conditions. If it's like a very freezing place in the wintertime, could be technically preserved. But presumably it's a place where you see the body starts to bloat or starts to change. You can't testify about him that he's this person, and you cannot be matter his wife because his features change. When you look at the person's face, and you want to look at him to know if he's so and so who matter his wife. You could do so even at nighttime, candlelight or moonlight, which is a big chiddush, right? That's you don't have to wait till sunlight. You don't have to wait till morning. Chav Gimel. You can see somebody from afar. They say, "Oh, we know this person is so and so." I complain to this person from this place. And now a snake bit him and he died. And then when they get to him, I guess they didn't go look until later. Right? They were afraid of the snake. I mean, the snake was hanging around there. Later, 3 days later, or whatever time it is later, they come and now they don't recognize him anymore. They can have his wife remarried because they recognized him before he died. That's sufficient. Even though by the time they got to him, it was already 3 days later, but they saw him before he died. They know it's him. Chaf Dalet. Ba echad v'omar. One person shows up and says, there was a Psagirsa change over here. I wanted to pay attention to it. I think I missed it. Okay. Chaf Dalet. Ba echad v'omar. If one person comes and says, Amruli Beis Shel Enoshim, the best of this city or the people that city told me, when you come back to when you're traveling, when you arrive at this town, tell them Yitzchak ben Michael passed away. Comes, he said, he tells us the information. But he has no idea who he is. So the best told the people. So he's not testifying it. He's just saying he's a messenger. We know a person in this town by that name. His wife is mutter. We don't say Shem. Maybe somebody else with a different name. We don't know, but we can assume that since he's in this city and they're telling him to come to the city, it's him.
This name, as opposed to Reuven ben Shimon.
I do not know. It could be to Ma'aseh Shahayim with Rambam. I don't know. Leave together from this place. The guy comes back and he says randomly, the person who traveled with me passed away. His wife to get remarried. Even though the guy does not know that person, who he is, what's his name, he just says the guy who was traveling with me and we saw who it was. He has to say I buried him. If the guy apparently if the person says if the guy says the yid's name, so it's much more certain who he's talking about, and therefore he doesn't have to say I buried him. But if he's just saying the guy who traveled with me, but he's not identifying my name, so it's more shaky. Even though we saw who he's leaving with, but he doesn't know who. He's not saying it as someone specific. He's saying the guy traveling with me. So therefore, he has to say I buried him to be believed. So other parts don't aren't machalik. Okay, this is Rambam's opinion. Chavav, which is funny because the guy again it's not edus. So who cares if he's saying the guy's name, his social security number, the guy who's traveling, as long as we know who it is. Okay, interesting. Chavav. 10 people left together from one place. I'm sorry. 10 people are traveling together in one place. Yeah. They were, which basically means that they were bound by chains that are normally used to lead camels. Here the Chay say, yeah. Why can't you just? I'm saying, why can't you just say that? They were shackled in chains, or they were shackled with heavy rope. They not suited. They were tied up with what? Heavy chains, or with ropes that are used to tie camels. In which case, we can't be not chayish. One of them went away and someone else came to this place because they're tied up. And one of the goyim says randomly, that these 10 people who were going from this place to the other place, and they were carrying whatever it was. I'm not sure what the means. So Meishu Kulam, they all passed away. When we buried them, we get to let the wives be married because again, the guy, you have 10 people went together, and the guy is saying who they were, and we assume all 10. The guy is saying all 10 of them died, and he buried them. That is sufficient. Again, the guy is not saying
he's not
their names. He's just saying these 10 people. These 10 people. So we're not saying my name. Therefore, again, if he says that he buried them, they're not a goodness. Chavzayin Yisrael Shalmayid says complaining. This Jewish person in this place died. This is what he looked like. This is what his simanim were. So here it's a yid saying that this person died, but he can't identify him by name. He's just saying what he looked like. And we don't say, but we know it's this guy. Unless he testifies this person from this city. That's when we can know for sure it's him. If he says, however, if he says this person from this city died, He doesn't say his name though. The Chabs of Asia to be doing inspection in that city. If he's the only guy who left that city in the interim, he's not issues who have to get remarried because he has some identification. He's from this city. Now the city has lots of people, but how many people travel from the city since then? Only him. Therefore, we can assume that it's him and his wife can get his wife can be married.
Find out that he was the only one that traveled out of the city.
Yeah. Yeah. We find a document which says it does not clear exactly where'd you find it. I guess maybe you found it in like a attaché case or some sort of context. Maze ish plani and plani, or neg plani and plani, that this person from this person so and so, or was died or killed. It was killed or died. And we see it's Jewish writing. So, for example, it's written Lashon Kodesh, and in the time where you don't write Lashon Kodesh, and his wife can get remarried. Somebody who lost his ability to speak, he became a mute. We inspect the way we inspect for Gittin, right? We make him shake his head, yes and no. And his mind is clearly, intact. He writes for us. This person passed away. You can rely on his writing. She get remarried. We inspect the Eidim who testify a woman's husband died in the classical way of. I'm sorry, the Eidim you don't give them all the testimony. He died. What day, what week, what month, where was it? We don't give them all this cross-examination. All we got to do is get the important information. The Chum didn't say it, didn't institute the concept over here to be machmir, but rather to be matter a woman to remarry. Therefore, the whole idea of being semach on the aid is a heter. We don't make it difficult. Chav tes don't be troubled. That the chum or mat and ish stam from a guy or from a child, from a woman or someone who's normally you wouldn't trust them to say, hey, this guy lent $5 to him, but he was trusting him. The Eved, the woman get remarried. Don't be surprised to them. Or from one for another, based on writing, without the cross-examination. Why should the whole reason why the Torah cares so important about two kosher edim, shamish ptei edus, and all the halachas of witnesses? It's something where you have no idea of knowing what happened unless these two people tell you what happened. You need them. Therefore, it has to be two people kosher. You have to cross-examine them. He's saying this person killed him, and this person lent this person money. If that the edus, we have no idea. Something, however, which you can ultimately determine, maybe not right now, but ultimately determine without this aid. And it's something which, if the aid is lying about it, there's no way he's going to say why he was lying about it. He goes, this guy died. He won't have an explanation why. He won't be able to basically justify if he says if he's lying. In that case, the Torah is not as demanding. It's very, very unlikely that he will testify falsely. And therefore, make about the matter. They leave one aid. Even from a maid servant, based on writing, without the cross-examination, that the Jewish people should not remain. Jewish girls should not remain agunas who are unable to remarry. Okay. Okay, so tomorrow we're starting Yibam B'Chalitza. We finished.